Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. Today I want to talk to you about wheels and tires, or rims and tires. I've had this vehicle for 3 years now. It came with these standard Land Cruiser wheels and tires. They 16-inch diameter tires, 8-inch wide rims, and the tires are the standard 265, 75, 16s. BF Goodrich, as you can see, all terrains. I have had absolutely no complaints with these tires at all. They've been on a trip with me for nearly 3,000 kilometers, up through the Richtersveld, through the valleys, very stony, rocky, sharp stones. I've been on some really bad terrain with them, and they have handled it no problem at all. I'm very impressed with these tires. With this being the third Toyota four-wheel drive that I've owned, the previous one being a Hilux double cab four-wheel drive. That Hilux had 15-inch rims on it with big or decent sized balloon tires on it, which I thoroughly loved. It had the feeling of, if the car was standing and you went and rocked it on its bull bar, it would stand and rock for a second or two afterwards. It just looked really cool, and I decided I want that kind of look on this vehicle. So I decided a while ago already I wanted 15-inch rims and balloon tires because I just love the look of it. Even if I stayed 31s, which these are basically 31-inch diameter tires, but preferably a little bit larger. Now, I didn't want to go, and I also couldn't afford to go with all the new Dirty Life, or these really modern rims that cost a fortune too. Number one, I didn't think it was period specific, or it wasn't appropriate for the car, although some of them do look really good. And number two, probably the biggest reason, I can't afford things like that. So I decided to keep the car looking old school. And just as a matter of interest, in order to keep it looking old school, I went and I removed the light bar that was on the car when I got it, and I've installed, I got a new set of Hella, I think it's 550 halogen lamps, the rectangular ones, and I think it looks just great. I'm not into night driving. I know these cars have very bad headlights, they're notorious for it. I'm not into night driving, my eyes are not good enough for night driving, and so it's basically just for looks. But getting back to the wheels and tires, as I said, I decided I wanted to put on a set of 15-inch rims. I wanted to also go nice and fat. So I chose a wheel, first a tire size that I want to use, which will be a 33 by 12.5 by 15. And then I set about just looking around, keeping my eyes open for a rim that just looked right on the vehicle. I came across a photo of a Land Cruiser on Instagram one day, and the wheels just stood out to me as, that is what I want, that is what I'm looking for. And I'm going to put that photo on the screen right now. As you can see, they are very similar in looks to what the standard Land Cruiser is, but they are 15-inch, and as it turns out they are 10 inches wide instead of 8 inches with these on. And I'm not sure what size tires is on that vehicle, but that vehicle just looked right to me. So I decided that's the rims I want, if I could find. I kept my eyes open, and after a little bit of research, I discovered that they are called Blazers, and they are not as scarce as you might think. I've since seen a number of vehicles on the roads with them on, and I've seen a number of them for sale. I put a word out on the group, and I said, anybody know where I can find a set of these rims? And it just so happens that somebody I actually know who's in the four-wheel drive game, doesn't live far from me here. He came back to me and said, yes, he's got a set. They've been lying on the shelf for a couple of years in his workshop. He wanted a really decent price for them. At the time, I did not have the cash available. He said, not a problem, you'll keep them for me. He wasn't desperate to get rid of them. And eventually I did take the money to him, and I eventually actually got them from him for a little bit less than what we previously settled on. So I was very happy. I got 4 rims, really nice condition, and those are going to go on my vehicle eventually. Now these are the rims I'm talking about. As you can see, this is in really nice condition. There's a few chips on the paint here and there, but I'm going to be painting my rims exactly like the ones in the photo, so little chips in the paint and that are really no problem for me. But that left me with a little bit of a problem. I've decided that because most of my touring that I plan on doing is going to be solo touring, I want to carry 2 spares. And I'm not going to be able to carry one under the vehicle anymore, because that is going to be taken up by a water tank, which I still have to build. So I needed another 2. So I kept my eye on Marketplace for a long time, and I've come across quite a few sets of these for sale, but they all had 4 of them, and every set that I've seen came with a set of tires on them that were not the right size for me, and I didn't want them. So essentially I lost those deals because I only wanted 2, I only needed 2, although I was prepared to buy 4 if I can get them at the right price, but I didn't need the tires as well. So I ended up keeping my eyes open, and I eventually found somebody who had 2 for sale. There was a guy in Pretoria. I went up to see them, and it turns out one of the rims was damaged. And I said to him, I don't want the rim, I will take one of them from him and then keep my eyes open for another one. He eventually said to me, look, if I don't take the rim, he's going to throw it away anyway. So it only had on the back edge, on the rim, it had a little chip out of it with a little crack. And he gave it to me. So I ended up paying for 1 rim, so I ended up with 6 rims. I took it to a local rim repair here, and it cost me basically 800 Rand, I think, without the paint work, just to weld up the crack and the chip, and to finish it off. So I now have 6 of these rims ready for tires. Now, because I don't have a lot of money to spend, and this is my daily driver, and I spend a lot of money on diesel already with these tires on, or I was spending a lot of money at the time with these tires on. As you know, the price of diesel is going up all the time. I wanted to know what putting 33s onto the vehicle, the 33 by 12.5 by 15s, what they were going to do to my fuel consumption before I went and splashed out a lot of money on a set of tires. So once again, I put a word out on the group, and one of the guys came back to me. He's got a workshop very close to where I work. He said, no, he's got a set, they're worn, he doesn't want them anymore. He was using them on a Jeep Cherokee that's purely off-road. He was using it in the mine dumps to go and play. But they'd reached the end of their life for him anyway, and he said I could use them, I could have them if I want. They were mine if I wanted them. I said thank you very much. I went and fetched them, brought them home, and I fitted them to the rims, and then I set about trying to fit them to the vehicle, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. This is what I ended up with. As you can see, these are pretty worn, the tires, but I'll tell you why they're so worn right now. They weren't that bad when I got them, but that is what they look like on the vehicle, and I think they look absolutely stunning, and they're going to look even better when I have them painted up. But I put these on the rims, and I brought them home and tried to fit them to the vehicle. Now, 15-inch rims onto a vehicle that's supposed to have 16 leaves very little space for the brake calipers. And as it turned out, the brake calipers only just touched the rims. They didn't quite fit. So I didn't want to go and modify these calipers in my vehicle. So once again, I went to the group, put the word out, and somebody came back to me and said, yes, he's got a set. They had been ground and modified to fit another set of 15-inch rims for an 80 series. He didn't want them because he didn't trust them or whatever. He said, I'm welcome to them, I can have them. So after a while, I managed to get them down. That was also up north somewhere. He sent them down to me with another guy that was coming down. I got them, and they were in pretty bad shape, I must admit. I gave them a good wire brushing, cleaning up, but the pistons and the cylinders that the pistons run in were pretty badly pitted. The pistons I had to throw away, they are useless. So I sat with a dilemma now of what do I do with these? But anyway, I took them, I just removed mine, unbolted them, took a piece of wire, tied them up to the springs, and just so they're out of the way, and I bolted those calipers to my wheel station without any pads or anything in them, just there. and I put them on, and they actually went on. They didn't touch, but the clearance was extremely tight in one or two spots. The calipers had actually been ground or clearance in the wrong spot, obviously for another set of rims that needed it there. What I did was I took a grinder and I just trimmed them in the two spots that needed clearing on the ends, and after a good look I decided that they actually weren't compromised strength-wise. They were ground down, yes, but they were not compromised in the right areas that would make them weak. So what I ended up doing was taking the pistons, the seals and the dust covers from my calipers, fitting them to those calipers, put them in, bled the brakes, and I've had those calipers in now for over a year and they are working 100%, no problems at all. So we came to putting the tyres on, and everybody told me my fuel economy is going to be at least 10% higher with the 33s. I'm one of those people that I want to see it for myself, so that is why I got the tyres. I was initially only going to test them for 2-3 weeks, a month at the most. I ended up having them on the vehicle now for a year. I took them off last weekend. So my fuel economy went from around 8.3 to 8.6 kilometers per litre. That's using it as a daily on the highway to work and back every day. Same route, same driving style every single day. I changed to the 33s, and to my surprise, the fuel economy went from, as I said, 8.3 to 8.6 mark, right up to 9.6 kilometers to a litre. I couldn't believe it. The car handles beautifully. I can't complain about the handling. In fact, with the rims having a negative 44 offset and the tyres being wider, the wheel track is that much wider. I think I calculated it to be nearly 6 inches wider in total. The vehicle feels more stable side to side than it did with the narrower tyres, which stands to reason, I suppose, but I'm very happy with them. I like them. I've taken them off now, taken the tyres off now, because they have just become too worn. Remember, they were already worn when I got them, and I was only supposed to use them for a month at the most. I ended up using them for a year. I suppose it's because of my very conservative driving style that they lasted the extra year, but they are now done. So I sit with a dilemma now of having to buy 6 33 by 12.5 by 15 tyres, and I would preferably like to get a set of BF Goodrich muds. But there is no ways I can afford that right now, but I don't need them right now. As you can see, I've got a set of tyres, although they cost me a little bit extra in diesel. Don't know why, but they are perfectly good for now.